all the crazy things going on in the United States lately, you might be wondering, is it not too late to move to Mexico? Well, that, my friends, is what we're gonna dive into today. Mexico has many things to offer, whether it be the beaches, great food, wonderful weather, or cenotes such as this. We're gonna take a look at some things that are happening in Mexico at the moment. Things that could lead to Mexico becoming one of the best places to live in the world in the near future. It's no secret that tensions are mounting between the United States and China. While it's likely that Mexico can't produce goods quite as cheaply as China, it benefits the United States in another way, and a lot of these products get sent back and forth between the border multiple times, meaning that made in Mexico actually also means made in the United States as well. The pandemic exposed major flaws in the worldwide supply chain, leaving shelves in the United States empty, and giving rise to a new idea of nearshoring, whereby production and manufacturing would be moved closer to the main consumer, the United States, and further away from the shores of Asia. The truth is, the United States would much rather see its neighbor to the south become rich and prosperous. Chinese companies are now more frequently investing in northern Mexican states such as Nuevo León. It seems for the moment this situation is going to work best for everybody. The United States can continue to get cheaply manufactured goods, China can still sell to its biggest customer, the United States, and Mexico gets to take a cut off of the top. It's not just China investing in manufacture in Mexico. In July 2023, Tesla was given the go-ahead to start construction on the world's biggest gigafactory in Nuevo León. BMW opened a plant in San Luis Potosí in 2019 with an investment of $1 billion. And it seems that they're going to continue to invest more. There are many reasons why people are bringing manufacture to Mexico, not only just because of the proximity to the United States. Did you know that Mexico has free trade agreements with 50 countries? The United States only has 20. What does this all mean in the long term? One of the biggest problems facing Mexico today is the cartels. I imagine though, however, if the economy in the northern part of the country becomes much better, the government will have much more interest in controlling these organizations. The northern part of the country, where the vast majority of these investments are happening, is going to see a very large increase in the standard of living, just as happened in China over the last 20 years. In particular, this region of the country has been plagued by cartel violence. If the standard of living goes up, surely it is going to be much harder for the cartels to recruit. If the legitimate economy is doing better than the underground economy, I think eventually they will get forced out. One of the most expat-friendly areas of Mexico is obviously the Riviera Maya. Most people have heard of Cancun, but Cancun is really just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the Riviera Maya. The jungles are dotted with cenotes, and the flora and fauna are exceptional. One of President AMLO's flagship projects is a gigantic railway that runs around the perimeter of the Yucatan Peninsula, including the Riviera Maya. In addition to connecting archaeological sites such as Chetumal and Chichen Itza to tourism hubs such as Cancun, Playa del Carmen, and Tulum, it will also connect regions of the Yucatan Peninsula that have traditionally been impoverished, hopefully bringing jobs to the region, and also probably making it easier for this region that has typically been separated from the rest of Mexico to engage with trade in the other half of Mexico, the western half. Beginning in the summer of 2023, Panama began experiencing a very problematic drought during what would normally be considered Panama's rainy season. This led to the Panama Canal, which depends on rainwater stored in a nearby lake to fill its locks, to dramatically reduce the amount of ships it could safely allow through its passage. Huge container ships were and are currently still waiting in line to pass, while some of the ships opted to take the long route around South America. Due in part to the extreme weather at the southern tip of South America, using this route can add between 2 and 3 months to the trip and add hundreds of thousands of dollars in fuel costs. Not to mention, a lot of these container ships are carrying perishable items such as fruits and vegetables. All of this has started conversations about finding alternatives to the Panama Canal and, here's that word again, nearshoring. Are we seeing a trend here? Basically, the world is deglobalizing and Mexico is in the perfect position to take advantage. Luckily, Mexico has been working on an alternate to the Panama Canal since 2019 and is expected to inaugurate the Interoceanic Corridor at the end of 2023, right around the same time that the Mayan train is expected to start operations. So, we've established that the North and the Northeast in particular will benefit greatly from investments pouring into the country, hoping to take advantage of the potential near-shoring opportunities. We've also established that the east and southeast regions of the country that have traditionally been impoverished are going to benefit greatly from humongous infrastructure projects. Central Mexico, including Mexico City, has been doing well for quite some time. We're not too worried about them. I mean, they are sinking slowly, but that's for another video. So, what about the west and northwest parts of the country? What do they have going on that is going to benefit Mexico as a whole? Why is it important that regional Mexican music is basically the top music in the world right now? Well, think about it. In any other countries, in any other time in history, what do people from other countries say? Oh, we learned about America through the movies. We learned about America through music. We learned English through the music. If you can export your culture and people fall in love with your culture, it changes everything. Regional Mexican music has been around forever, but the new generation of corrido and banda groups have a uniquely modern style that regional artists of the past never quite fully adopted. The youth needs to identify with the music they listen to and with the artists that make them. To put it bluntly, today's regional Mexican artists are cooler than the earlier generation and have adopted a style that resonates with youth globally and not just Mexico. The Mexican music that has become influential on a global scale mostly comes from the western states such as Jalisco, Sinaloa, Tijuana, and Sonora. The fact that regional Mexican music is doing so well is changing another thing. People used to say, the worst enemy of a Mexican is another Mexican. Inside Mexico, seeing their culture being appreciated throughout the world is changing the perception of the average Mexican. They're starting to see themselves as winners and seeing themselves cooperate. As people in the United States, Mexico has been known as maybe not the greatest place to live. At first glance, areas like this may look like what we've always thought of Mexico as. Slightly impoverished, dirt roads, not much infrastructure, houses with tin roofs. Things are changing. These neighborhoods here, although I'm not trying to invade people's privacy, when you look behind those houses with the tin roofs, nowadays there are brand new houses built behind them. And the people that live in these houses own their houses 100%. They don't have loans. They are entire owners of their house. In the United States, things are going the exact opposite direction. People are owning less and less of their things. And if they are legally on paper the owner of their house, inflation has made it so people can't afford their mortgages anymore. So at this moment in time, things in the United States keep getting worse and things here in Mexico keep getting better. Politically speaking, things are going well in Mexico, actually. The country is united, whereas obviously the United States, the battle between left and right is dividing the country, and as we all know, a country divided cannot stand. Mexico, however, seems to be moving in one direction, and that's what really matters at the end of the day. What makes a country a great place to live? Security, a relatively high standard of living, not having to go to war. Mexico doesn't necessarily have to be number one economically. If they can get close to the top, that'll be great. Mexico doesn't have any enemies. If they do get close to the top, they're still friends with everybody. Whereas the United States has enemies everywhere. World War III is always on the tip of everyone's tongue. Mexico doesn't have those problems. And if they did, the country is surrounded by a natural fortress. It'd be pretty hard to invade Mexico. People have tried to get to Mexico City in the past and it didn't work so well because the country is basically surrounded by mountains on all sides. If you think about it, Mexico is in a hell of a position, literally, geographically speaking. They're right in the middle of everything, between South America and North America, between China, Europe. Now, I don't want to get into politics or anything like that too much, but if you're the type of person that feels that woke culture is ruining America, you won't find too much of that here. In the United States, we've been led to believe that we have true freedom. Americans just, we don't have freedom. Like we get ourselves into these crazy loans and everything like that. Like we really don't have any control over what we do with our day. Like we are always on someone else's time. Always. We're always on someone else's time. Here, I can see that things are different and becoming better very rapidly. Let's be very serious. I didn't come to Mexico because of manufacturing or infrastructure projects or the music. I came here for the beaches, but I stayed for the motherfucking tacos. And because I got a kid here now. Look at this. We got rib meat tacos, pastor. The cost of living in Mexico is substantially cheaper. So, if you can earn some type of residual income or work remotely and still earn an income from the United States while establishing roots here, might not be such a bad idea. Look, at the end of the day, I don't have a crystal ball. I really don't know what's gonna happen. I hope that both countries can be successful and get their problems worked out. But I'm also the type of person I always hedge my bets. Do wonders to help the country battle the problem.
There's your doppelganger, bro.
No.
He has the chest hair, bro.